The next thing we're going to learn about is electrotonic potential. Electrotonic potential. Electro refers to charge, positive or negative. Okay. Last week we looked at the atom a little bit, and we saw there was neutral as well. Our friend the atom, remember that? And we saw negative, positive, neutral. I was a high school physics teacher or high school chemistry teacher for about 2 minutes there. And what happened was we looked at the atom, we looked at the different charges. Well, electro refers to charge. Tonic refers to tonicity or concentration. Now, in biology class, if you ever took a high school, maybe some undergraduate bio classes, did you ever do a make your own cell? Did you ever do that experiment where you make your own cell and you put it in different solutions? I see some heads going. So what you do is you take dialysis film that can be permeable, and you put I think it's a salt solution in this film, and you tie the ends and you make a cell. It's a very ugly kind of like poorly tied package, right? And you put that cell is going to have a similar pH to the the inside of a human cell. So you put that cell into a solution that's very salty. You put that cell into a solution that's just pure water, and you put that cell into a solution that's isotonic, that is has the same amount of salt in it as the inside of the cell. And what happens is the cell that's put into super salty water, you actually lose water. Okay? It's called crenation. The cell starts to shrink and lose water. The other cell that is in the just like the water solution, it can actually burst. It can actually burst because there's actually the salt water kind of wants to get out, and then the cell that is in the isotonic solution is going to maintain the same amount of water that it had at the beginning. Okay, so that is called tonicity. All minerals, all of these so-called these solvents, these solutes that are in our blood, that are in our body, they all travel along a concentration gradient. Meaning, for example, if I were to spray perfume right here, like one of those really nasty perfumes, like what is it, sun-ripened raspberry, or like, you know, like on the subway, someone decides they're going to do their makeup and then 2 minutes later you smell it at the other end of the subway. Yeah. It's always on the A train. It's always on the A train. From like where the end of Queens and like to the Brooklyn, and then you go to the Rockaways, and then the whole ride just. That's because it's the scent is going down a concentration gradient from where it's very concentrated to where it's less concentrated. And that we've learned probably this in high school biology. That's what happens in the body too. So if you have a lot of salt, for example, inside a cell, and you have no salt outside of the cell, the salt is going to get out to a place where it's less concentrated. And if it's the right situation, it can help, the cell can burst. So in our bodies, minerals, all the everything in our bodies is very balanced. If there's anything out of balance, it's going to go down a concentration gradient. So if you have too much salt in one area, it's going to diffuse. That's the natural diffusion. Okay. There's also facilitated diffusion in biology that requires energy. That's a different thing. But this is natural diffusion. So tonicity is concentration. Okay, like copper tone, like tonic. So tonicity refers to concentration of something. Any of you ever hear of a tonic or tonic water? Like I think that's like a tonic refers to like a healthy kind of supplement or herb you take every day that kind of helps your health in general. So a tonic. Tonicity refers to concentration. So if you have a high concentration of, let's say, sodium in a particular area, that area is going to be either more negative or more positive, depending on the charge of that particular element, or that charge of that particular element. So in this class, we're going to learn about sodium, potassium, and calcium. Those are the three very important mineral elements that are involved in signal transmission. So electrotonic potential refers to when there's a lot of a particular element in one area. How is that element charged? Is it a negative or positive charge? And how it is diffused, how it spreads. So, electrotonic potential is very fast. It's very fast. So what happens is a presynaptic cell or presynaptic terminal might hit this part of the cell. A presynaptic terminal might hit this part of the cell body. That might cause, let's say, calcium to go into the cell. Oh, no, let's say that. Let's say that it hits a certain part of the cell body and it causes a certain element to go in the cell, making it more positive or more negative. Let's say that it was more positive. Very quickly, the cell body, that element, will spread and will cause the immediate area to become more negative if it's more negative. So if it gets a stop signal, it's going to spread very quickly. Stop. Don't go. If it gets a positive signal over here, there's going to be an influx of a particular element, and it's going to spread very, very quickly, causing the cell to become more negative or more positive. Does that make sense? Yeah, sure. So when the cell receives a signal, okay, so this is a postsynaptic neuron. When it receives a signal from a presynaptic neuron, that neuron's going to cause an influx of a certain, let's say, element like calcium or not calcium, potassium, sodium. That's going to cause it to become, for example, in the case of sodium, it's going to cause it to become more positive in that particular area. And very quickly, it's going to cause the immediate area to become slightly more positive, but it's going to diffuse. So it's going to become diffuse very quickly. So this is called electrotonic potential. Electrotonic potential. Are you all with me? Okay. Tonic. E-L-E-C-T-R-O, meaning a difference in charge, and tonic, T-O-N-I-C, meaning the concentration of a particular substance. So when a substance in biology if substance A is hypertonic to substance B, that means that H-Y-P-E-R means hyper, like hyperactive. Hyper means a lot. If it's hypertonic, that means there's a lot more of that substance concentrated in that solution than is true in the normal human body. So if you have a cell that's in a very salty water, that cell will crenate. It'll shrink. If a cell is in very like just pure water, it might lysate or burst. It might lyse, burst. If it's in an isotonic solution, it's going to stay the same. But elements, solutions, tend to diffuse across their concentration gradients, which is why when you put a cube of sugar or some salt in water, it's going to, over a period of time, become diffuse, and you're going to taste the water as salty or sweet. Okay, that makes sense? All right. So this electrotonic potential acts over very short distances, so it's effective over very short distances, and it's very fast. The next kind of signal transmission we're going to be learning about is called action potential. Action potential and electrotonic potential always work together, or mostly work together. In most neurons, except for a few, electrotonic potential and action potential together facilitate efficient signal transmission. Let me say that again. Electrotonic potential combined with action potential facilitate efficient signal transmission.